Hey guys, it's Gamer here, this time with another video on Honkai Star Rail. This video will be a guide on the new 5-star unit that just came out, Topaz and Numby. This video will go over her skills, priority on upgrading traces, Eidelons, light cones, best relics, and team comps. With all that said, let's just jump into it. Here, I'll give a quick overview on Topaz and what she is about, and what she is good at. So Topaz is mainly a 5-star sub DPS. She is of the fire element, and she is a Path of the Hunt unit. So what Topaz is good for? She is good for increasing damage, follow-up attacks from a main DPS. This includes units like Clara, Jing, Himeko, and more. I'll talk more about this later on in team comps. She can be used as a hypercarry main DPS, but there's better options out there for that. It's similar to how Kafka can be a hypercarry main DPS, but Kafka is best used in a damage over time focused team. So let's go over her kit to see how she works with buffing up follow-up attacks. So her skill is difficulty pain, which marks an enemy with a proof of depth status. The proof of depth status increases the damage the enemy takes from follow-up attacks. Only one enemy can have the proof of depth status at one time. If the enemy dies with the proof of depth, a random enemy will get the proof of depth status. If you want a different enemy to have the proof of depth, you're going to have to use Topaz's skill. Also, when a battle first starts, a random enemy will have the proof of depth, and you will have to use Topaz's skill if you want the status on a different enemy. Numby will attack immediately at whoever has the proof of depth after the skill is used. So let's talk about her talent, which is called Trotter Market. So Topaz has a warp trotter called Numby who helps her do damage. Numby has its own separate slot in the turn order, and when it is Numby's turn, Numby will attack whoever has the proof of depth. This attack from Numby is considered a follow-up attack. Numby's action will be advanced forward every time any team member does a follow-up attack on the enemy with a proof of depth. So the more follow-up attacks happen, the more Numby will attack the enemy. This is why Topaz is best used as a sub DPS or a main DPS that has follow-up attacks. Topaz's ultimate is Turn a Profit. This ultimate gives a buff to Numby called Windfall Bonanza. This buff increases Numby's damage and crit for 2 attacks. So after the ultimate is used, anytime the enemy with a proof of depth is hit with basic attacks, skill, or ultimate from any of your team members, Numby's action will advance forward. After 2 attacks, the buff will end and Numby will go back to normal. Her basic attack can get interesting. If you don't need the proof of depth application, you can use her basic attack to get a skill point for your team. There's a trace you can unlock called Overdraft, which makes the basic attack count as a follow-up attack. So you can use the basic attack on the enemy with the proof of depth, and Numby's action will move forward. Topaz's technique is Explicit Subsidy, and it helps the player find trotters and chests in the overworld. For trace priority, You mainly want to focus on upgrading her talent and skill. Upgrading her talent will increase the damage of Numby's attacks. Upgrading the skill will increase the damage of the Proof of Death application, as well as increase the damage of follow-up attacks on the enemy with the Proof of Death. The ultimate increases the damage Numby will do in Windfall Bonanza. Upgrade the ultimate after upgrading her talent and skill. Upgrading her basic attack does have some use, as you might want to use basic attacks from time to time if you want to get skill points. Here's the Trace Overdraft, which I talked earlier about. You also want to get any traces that permanently buff her crit rate and her fire damage as soon as you can. So her Eidelons are strong but not as broken as other 5-star units. Her first Eidelon increases the crit damage of follow-up attacks for the enemy with Proof of Death. If you do go for Eidelons for her, I'd say this is the Eidelon that I feel will be worth it the most. Her second Eidelon makes Topaz regenerate 5 energy whenever Numby attacks. This is also really good since it will help Topaz reach her ult faster, increasing her overall damage. Her third Eidelon increases the level of her skill to +2 and her basic attack to +1. Her fourth Eidelon will make Topaz herself advance forward whenever Numby attacks. Her fifth Eidelon increases the level of her ultimate and her talent to +2. Her sixth Eidelon will increase the number of buffed attacks from Numby using Topaz's ultimate from 2 to 3, and also makes it so that Numby has fire penetration when Numby is in the Windfall Bonanza state. Once again, the best light cone for Topaz is her signature light cone you can get from the current light cone banner. This light cone is called Worrisome Blissful, and it increases crit rate by 18% and damage from follow-up attacks by 30%. Follow-up attacks will apply a tame state to the enemy, which increases crit damage dealt to the enemy from any attack by your team members by 12%. This can stack up to 2 times for a total of 24% increased crit damage. Obviously, this light cone is really strong for Topaz and what she is supposed to do for follow-up attacks. As a free-play option, there is a 5-star light cone from the Herta store called Cruising in the Stellar Sea. So let's go to your Herta store and take a look at this light cone. So this light cone can increase crit rate for Topaz and increase attack by 20% after she kills an enemy. There is also a 4-star light cone called Swordplay, which allows Topaz to do more damage every time she hits the same target. And this is the light cone I am using, so let's take a look at that light cone. So of course, if you want to use this light cone, you want to concentrate your attacks on one target for the most part until they are dead when you are using Topaz. Other possible light cones include the 4-star light cone, only silence remains. So let's take a look at that light cone. So this light cone will increase attack by 16% and also increase crit rate if there are 2 or fewer enemies. There's also the 3-star light cone darting arrow, which increases attack by 24% after Topaz defeats an enemy, and this lasts for 3 turns. So most people will agree that the best relic set to use for Topaz would be 2-piece Firesmith of Lava Forging and 2-piece Musketeer of Wildwood. The Firesmith set will increase fire damage for Topaz by 10%. Musketeer of Wildwood will increase attack by 12%. You can go for the 4-piece of either set if you wish, but the 4-piece bonuses for both sets aren't really ideal for her. Musketeer of Wildwood will increase speed by 6% and basic attack damage by 10%. Most of the damage coming from Topaz will not be from her basic attack. 4-piece Firesmith increases skill damage by 12% and increases fire damage by 12% on the next attack after doing an ultimate. The bonus fire damage only comes from one attack, and it only comes after doing an ultimate, so it's not as consistent. So her best ornament set is going to be Inert Alsato, which increases crit rate and increases follow-up attack damage by 15% when crit rate is 50% or higher. Another possible plein-air ornament set includes Space Stealing Station, which increases attack. So for main stats, you want crit rate or crit damage for the body piece, speed or attack for the boots, fire damage for the spear, and attack for the rope. For substats, you want crit damage, crit rate, attack, or speed. Once again, Topaz is best used as a sub DPS to support a main DPS that has follow-up attacks. Clara is one of the best units to work with Topaz, as most of her damage are from follow-up attacks, which she does very often. Another good DPS unit to pair with Topaz is Himeko, who does a lot of follow-up attacks and is a fire unit that can help break enemies with fire weakness. Jing is also another good DPS unit to work with Topaz, as he does a lot of follow-up attacks as well. For a support unit, you can run Tingyun, and she's very good at buffing Clara, or you can use her to buff Topaz depending on the situation. Other good support units include Asta, who is also another fire unit that can help break enemies with fire weakness. She's also good for buffing the attack and speed of your entire team. Another good support is March 7, who can give shields and does follow-up attacks. And honestly, any other support unit like Pella, Bronya, Silverwolf, or even Yukong can work as well. For a healer or sustain unit, you can run anybody from Locha to Japard to Lynx, Natasha, Fuchuan, or Biden. Personally, I like using Fuchuan. So this is an example of a team I'm using. It's going to be Clara, Yun, Fuchuan, and Topaz. You can also do a hypercarry team for Topaz, which usually runs 2 supports and 1 sustain and healer. A quick example of a Topaz hypercarry team would be Topaz, Locha, Yun, and Asta. Once again, the supports and healers can be almost any unit from those categories. I will be honest, Topaz is sort of niche when compared to recent hypercarry main DPS units like Jing, Blade, and Inhibitor Lunae. I think it's a bit awkward that they also have a Seele rerun at the same time, as Seele is still very strong. I think if you need a more straightforward DPS hypercarry to build a team around for Memory of Chaos, you go for Seele. Topaz is good if you want to build teams for units like Clara and Himeko. I do like the idea that her kit is like Aka, where she helps units that are not used as much become stronger. And there might be future units with strong follow-up attack abilities later down the road. That's definitely something to keep in mind. She is strong, but I wouldn't say she's exactly a must-pull as much as recent units like Jing and Inhibitor Lunae. I do have to say that in terms of story and lore and character design, she is a S+ waifu. I love her outfit, and she just has the best thighs and short shorts in it. So that's it for my guide on Topaz. I do plan on making guides for Wii Naifeng and Seele at a later time. If you want more content on Honkai Star Rail, Reverse 1999, and other gacha games, hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video.